Right about now, the Ogun State Commissioner for Environment, Mr. Ola Orasanya, joins us in the studio to educate residents living in flood-prone areas, especially near the river banks. Great to have you again on the program Newsroom Series, Mr. Orasanya.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's start by actually talking about preparedness, from your end as Commissioner for Environment in Lagos State, for people living in terms of, like we said, near the river banks or flood-prone areas, in terms of responses, emergency responses. How prepared is the Ogun State government?
Well, yes, I think the preparedness started with us as a government, and knowing what we have to do, and the infrastructures for flood controls are well maintained from our end, to make sure that no matter what you have to do, you have to create a passage for the impending flood. The water will come, definitely. So we all know that. So all the tributaries joining the Ogun River, so we've been able to clear many of them. I can give you so many of the rivers that we've been able to clear, and going to almost like about 120 kilometers of flood channels have been cleared so far, and we're still doing more. Anyway, it's a continuous exercise. So that's on our side. Then on the public side, we've been able to inform our people who have a flood release that we did in the month of April. Every year we release that as a kind of flood advisory to the people to know the 2 seasons of flood that we're going to have in Ogun State. Normally, we have the highest rainfall around the month of June, July, all right, going to almost like about 400 mm in the month of June or July. Then we have the secondary level of rain that will come, which is we're going to have the second highest in the month of October, which we are right now, going to almost like about 200 millimeters of rainfall for this month. So definitely we're going to have this flood. And this flood, the second season of flood, the first one is a flash flood, which will come and go within a short time. But the second one, which is the one where we are right now, will come and stay for a while, because it's going to be compounded. It's not because of the rain alone. There's going to be release of accumulated water
from the
transboundary flow from the Ogun Dam that will come and add to the volume. And also the tidal lock that will come from the coastal areas, and we are open to the coastal areas, both Lagos and Ogun State. We all have this common location, geographical location. So the tide with the volume of water and the rainfall will compound the potential for flood. But what we have done is to mitigate this by making sure that we give advice to people who are living by the riverbank, move away from that area for now, and wait until when the water will regress. But to manage the problem, again, we make sure that the water released from the Ogun Dam we monitor on daily basis. And for this month, unlike last year, where we had about 700 millimeter of water that was released the month of October last year, this year now, at the rate of about 10 millimeter, 10 cubic million of water to be released on daily basis, we're going to have like about 450 to maximum of 500 cubic million water that will be released this month. So it's going to be less, and we are not likely to have the kind of devastation we had last year, this year now.
Interesting. Now, of course, I appreciate that you've been able to talk about some of the specific measures there, because that was what I was going to ask the follow-up. But talk to us about the the long-term infrastructure improvements for being considered by the Ogun State government. When we talk about this flooding, the issue of flooding, and of course the release of the water dam.
Right. Well, for the long term, the first thing that we have to dredge the Ogun River, we have to really make sure that we're not just dredging for making sure that we can accommodate more of the spills. We also dredge it for navigation also. And that this we are talking with the Federal Ministry of Inland Waterways and the Federal Ministry of Environment. So it's between the national government and the Ogun State government, and also the Lagos State government. So how to dredge Ogun River to accommodate more volume, because the river is getting old and it's not been dredged for a while. So we have to really dredge. We have a lot of deposits, sedimentation that has come in the area, and it's overdue for dredging. So that is on one side. The second side is on the creation of dikes also, especially around the Isheri area and going towards the Lagos end. We have to really create dikes and make sure that they're not just to protect the bank of the river. We also create a road network around that area and make the other side of the of the dike livable, and make sure it's a kind of resettlement there. Then the third one is to have, they will told in ponds that will retain even the excess spill in case you have we are prone to this climate change risk. So in case, yes, you have the tide going beyond predictable of 2 meters, 3 meters locked down from the lagoon, we must be able to withhold the excess. So we are creating we are creating a pond upstream the river at certain areas around that area that will withhold excess spill to make sure that people living around the water catchment area, the water catchment area, we make sure that those areas are made livable for our people.
All right. So now, of course, you talked about climate change, and interestingly, because and when we talk about the usual flooding and with the release of the dam, those living in the flood-prone areas or near the riverbanks, we get messages from time to time, oh, you have to relocate, as it were. But sometimes that message might not really go down well with residents. How do you make it? How do we convince them, really, especially when it gets to the extreme weather conditions that we're talking about when it comes to climate change?
Well, it's similar to your doctor telling you what you need to do to address an ailment. What we have here is a solution, is the options that are left to you, and we give you the options to anyway. Those of you who cannot live, elevate yourself. You can elevate if you cannot live. Okay, relocate temporarily to save your earnings and the rest of it. These are ordinarily development shouldn't have been in those areas, should have been controlled. But these are mistakes of the past, which we are mitigating now. And the least we can tell our people is that, look, move away from this moment, all right, while you save your properties. But if you cannot move away, all right, elevate yourself. Make sure that you keep your things, your items at the higher level where it is, because the water will come, all right, need to come. But on our side, we'll make sure that the impact is reduced as much as possible. And I want to assure people, just like the MD of Ogun said, with what we've deployed in Ogun State, I can assure you the impact will be very, very minimal this year. I want to assure you that.
Mr. Olaore Soya, Commissioner for Environment, Ogun State, we thank you so much for your time on
My
Newsroom
pleasure,
Series.
sir.